I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the September 18th, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. Really happy to be here with you. Weird kind of cold opening here. Had an incident in the Ram Cave over the weekend. Banged some things got busted, and it wasn't rage, but I'm without my standard operating equipment for the next 3 days, but I'm happy to be here. So to my friends, if you're clicking on, I'm used to engaging in you. I'm on a smaller laptop right now, so I can't see you when you click on. Please leave a comment. That would be great. Also, to my friends that get on my case every time I don't push the stone groove button, the whole show is going to be a stone groove because in one sense, that Ram performance was a stone groove. I remember us talking on Friday, and I shared that when the schedule came out in the spring, my feeling was, oh man, this is a 45-7 game. And then as we got closer through the summer, just seeing how good Frisco was, my feeling was, this is a 35-7 games. Either way, the Rams are going to be 0-3 to start the season. And of course, we got the win in Seattle. And then you just start tracking this team and seeing where they match up. And you think of McVay and you think of an upright Stafford. And I think my actual prediction for this game was Rams losing to the 49ers, but the score would be 30-21. The final score was 30-23. I wish I had published that score somewhere, but if you go to Friday's episode, you'll see where I said it was 30-21, and of course it was 30-23. Rams got the next best thing, the best thing being a win. The next best thing was a close loss that a young team can build on. That sounds awful yearbooky, right? That sounds awful moral victory, right? But we do. At this point, you will accept a moral victory because, hey, you see the Eagles, and the Eagles didn't look great on Thursday. Do you really trust the Cowboys? So who's the team in the NFC that's going to the Super Bowl, and who is going to be favored in many ways, unless they face, I guess, KC? Niners are really high up there in terms of they are playing for a Super Bowl, and the Rams team matched them, and they only lost by a touchdown. And then you discover a couple things. One is the Rams are better than you think, and the 49ers aren't that scary, which means that Rams window of opportunity might open sooner than we think. A couple of things we also said on Friday. And I said this with great confidence, which I just stunned hearing some Ram pundits go out there and say there wasn't a balanced attack. Well, I remember saying on Friday that the Rams needed to change how they do things and that they needed to throw, and essentially pound the ball through the air. And I was thrilled. You're not going to completely abandon the run. What they did on Sunday was good, and they sprinkled in a few jet sweeps here and there, got Skoranek involved and everything, a little bit of Tutu. But I was perfectly fine with Matthew Stafford throwing 55 times. And you know why? Because those Ram receivers were open. We talked about the front seven of the 49ers is devastating, right? But the secondary, if you're going to hurt them, you're going to hurt them in the secondary. And if you notice the passes that Stafford was getting through, yes, they were brilliant passes, but there were windows there for him to get to those receivers. And those receivers were, of course, Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. Just absolutely amazing how this season has gone on. The Rams literally are one possession short of tying or possibly beating the best team in football. And it was thanks that they were throwing the ball as opposed to falling into the similar trap of, hey, we got to try to establish the run. It was like, you're not going to win this game anyway. So let's come out there and throw caution to the wind and let's be aggressive. And if you really watch Steve Wilkes' defense, they were moving around trying to figure out what to do because what they expected was their four-man rush, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, that Bosa dude that's made a lot of money, and even Cleveland Farrell, the former Raider, they expected them to apply the pressure. We played 8 quarters of NFL football this year, and Matthew Stafford's been touched once. He's only been sacked once, and that was on a blitz by Fred Warner after Noteboom went out, and it was a blown assignment. Someone missed the pickup on that blitz. McVay said that in the post-game conference. So a lot of good stuff there that the Rams did. They came out throwing. They came out aggressive. They dictated to the 49ers. The 49ers, for the first time in a long time, had to worry about what the Rams were going to do. And again, that was something we touched on. Make the 49ers adjust to the Rams, not the Rams always adjusting to the 49ers. Okay, with that said, third point I wanted to make is Brock Purdy's an NFL quarterback, right? As much as I didn't want to believe, he's a really good quarterback. He's a good leader. He's got a good enough arm. He missed on some deep shots. But yeah, Brock Purdy looked pretty good. And I think they can go deep with him. He's a smart quarterback. It'll be interesting to see if the dude can stay healthy, because I think if there's an Achilles in that 49ers offense, it's their offensive line after Trent Williams. And we can talk about that later. There were a couple of plays, direct, specific plays that could have possibly changed the outcome of this game. And so I noticed some people have clicked on. I appreciate you clicking on. I'm not ignoring you. It's just hard for me to see the screen. I do love acknowledging you. If you can leave a comment, I promise at some point I'll get a chance to. There was some talk about the stuff at the end of the first half, Darian Kendrick's PI and all those things. That didn't bother me. That wasn't a deal. This is the 49ers, right? This is a good football team, and they marched down. And you know what? The Rams made them use almost every second of that first half to get that tying touchdown. And on that play on not fourth down, with 1 second left at the end of the first half, it was one of the few times Raheem Morris and the defense guessed wrong. You look at the setup on that goal line, and I don't think they were expecting Brock Purdy to sneak the ball. I think they expected a pass. But these were the 3 things that occurred to me as we were watching this in the second half, where the Rams lost this game. And again, it was a case of a team that's playing for a Super Bowl versus a team that's learning how to play, right? With 5:57 left in the third quarter now, it's a 17-7 game, right? The Rams are driving. They run that sweep to Skoranek, and they got a 1st and 10 at the Frisco 25. The next play, Ronnie Rivers comes in, makes a nice run, but a holding call brings it back to the 35. 2 plays later, on a 2nd and 16 from the 31, from the Frisco 31, with 4 minutes and 17 seconds left in the third, Kyren Williams looks like a second-year player. He lets that pass go through his hands, and it's picked off by Isaiah Oliver. This leads to the 57-yard field goal by Jake Moody with 1:26 to play in the third, and the 49ers now have a 20-17 lead. And again, think about that. Momentum shifts to the 49ers. That young defense made up of third-rounders, undrafted free agents, second-rounders, and all that stuff they got there, held the 49ers, a Super Bowl team. They said, yeah, you're not getting any closer than our 39 or our 40, and Jake Moody had to boot a 57-yard field goal for them to take the lead. The next time out, the Rams had a 3-and-out. 49ers took the ball, went the length of the field. Deebo Samuel had that nice, I guess they're calling it a run, where Rams didn't tackle anybody. And the 49ers, with 11:37 left to play, are up 27-17. Rams get the ball back in the fourth. Okay, I know you saw this, but it's good to recap it. The Rams get the ball back at their 25. They run 10 plays all the way down to the Frisco 19. This is a case of, I understand it because I got the problem with Stafford being Coop-centric or Cup-centric, but he became almost Nakua-centric with a little sprinkling of Atwell. But it's okay because you saw how open Puka Nakua was. You also saw where Atwell was, which makes me again think They were a step ahead of that Frisco secondary. The Frisco secondary needs that pass rush, and they weren't getting that pass rush. And Nakua and Atwell were finding those holes in the zone and in the defense in the secondary, and they were making it work. And then finally, we get to 3rd and 1 at the 19 with 7:33 to play, and Tutu Atwell makes his first mistake of the season, and he runs that wrong route. He runs that short comeback. And Stafford was expecting him to go to the end zone. And they showed the highlights that if he had gone to the end zone, it probably would have been 6. Instead, Stafford's hit with an intentional grounding and moves the team back. Its next pass is an incomplete pass. Stafford's livid, which I kind of loved it because this is a guy that's been in the league since 2009. He's taking every hit in the book. He's got a ring. He's got his bag. He's got his dough. And he still wants to win. You see that fire in him. And Brett Maher is able to salvage that drive with a 48-yard field goal, makes it 27-20 Frisco with 7:18 to play. Very next possession, the defense, this young defense, forces the Super Bowl contending 49ers to punt. So with 5:29 left to play, the Rams get the ball back on their own 20. And 2 plays later, Van Jefferson runs that lazy route and causes the interception leading to another Moody field goal with 3:02 to play. And you saw it, wasn't sure what I saw at that time. And I thought Mark Sanchez did a great job of breaking that down where he says he needed to flatten that route or come back to his quarterback as opposed to, lazily turning it upfield and allowing Lenore who we covered in high school, by the way, Lenore to undercut the throw. And then he did a great job describing how Stafford is looking right and coming back. So he's ready to make that throw because he expects Jefferson to be there. And, we'll break down a little bit of what we think. But, if that had been Nakua or Cooper Kupp, I'd really probably lay it on Stafford's doorstep because Stafford's been aces, and those guys run terrific routes. But Van Jefferson has quickly fallen to number 3 in the rotation here, and he probably should be like number 5 because he's just not producing. We said this. There's nothing special about Van Jefferson. Not saying he's terrible, but look at he's not getting separation. He doesn't compete for balls. You're looking at Tutu Atwell at what, 5'8", $130. We know he's heavier than that, making fantastic catches, showing he has amazing hands, and playing with the big boys where Van Jefferson just turns into a ghost. And so I put that interception too on Van Jefferson. It's a shame. It's a real tragedy that has to fall in Matthew Stafford's column, but Van Jefferson caused that. And thank goodness Mark Sanchez pointed that out. And so there's a lot of maybes here, right? A lot of maybes here. Maybe Kyrene Williams catches that pass in the third quarter and the Rams don't score a touchdown, but maybe they convert that into a field goal and lead 20-17. Maybe Frisco, because they are a Super Bowl contending team, maybe they go on a drive in their next possession, and instead of going up by 10, they go up 24-20. Maybe Atwell runs the correct route on the following drive, and the Rams go back up 27-24, and then maybe the Jefferson pick never occurs. But everything that hung in the balance worked against the young team, and everything that hung in the balance worked in favor of the team hoping to compete for a Super Bowl. I mean, literally, even McVay said it in his post-game interview, you could see where there are just these 2 or 3 plays that changed the whole course of the game. Matthew Stafford, my 5th point here, is an elite quarterback still, right? I think it was the Times. I saw a link. I wasn't sure it was the Times. I don't click on a lot of links. I saw a headline, Matthew Stafford, it said Stafford's interceptions key to Rams loss. And I think it was the Times. And it just struck me how utterly ignorant some of these people in the KBM media are. I mean, could anybody lay those picks on Stafford? First, the Kyrene Williams one, and then the second one with just a little bit of investigation, a little bit of study, and it was even put there on national TV for us. How do you lay the Jefferson interception on Matthew Stafford, right? I just don't get it. If Kupp was running that route, like I said, or Nakua, those guys are ice when it comes to running routes. then maybe I think twice about Mark Sanchez's analysis. But with Jefferson struggling the way he is and knowing him the last 3 years, this is on Jefferson, right? Point number 6, the offensive line allowing just 1 sack is better than average, right? I'm not saying they're great, but they're good, and good is good enough, right? If you look at their PFF grades, their Pro Football Focus grades that everyone looks at, there is nothing exceptional, right? Nothing exceptional. But yet, tell me what you saw. I saw Stafford going down once. I also saw the few times there was pressure on him. I did see Stafford healthy enough, in shape enough to step around some of that, but he was standing the whole time. Avila, Havenstein, Shelton, Jackson played all 80 snaps. Noteboom played 37 before injuring his shoulder and being replaced by Tremaine Ankrum. And here was the funny thing. Everyone was kind of saying, well, the offensive line fell apart after Joseph Noteboom, who the media and the message boards have hated Noteboom. And then he gets replaced by Ankrum, and everyone says, oh, the offensive line fell apart after Tremaine Ankrum went in. Well, actually, if you look at the grades, Ankrum finished higher than Noteboom. And again, regards to the grades, they're good to have. They're kind of a baseline, but know what you saw. And let's remember who they were going against. Eric Armstead, Bosa. Was it Nick Bosa? I think it's Nick Bosa. I get the Bosas confused. Javon Hargrave and Cleveland Farrell's played really well for them. They've done a fantastic job. Stafford took 80 snaps on Sunday. 55 passes he threw, and he was only hit on 5 of them and sacked only once. PFF can grade the Rams' offensive line poorly, but we know what we saw, and it really does have to give you hope, right? My apologies to the people who were saying that everyone was a steal in the draft. I had great hopes for these guys, but I'm going to say it right now. Steve Avila at number 36, I think, steal of the draft. Puka Nacua, 5th round, steal of the draft. And I'm really, Byron Young is starting to really grow on me. Point number 7, if and when Cooper Kupp comes back at a Cooper Kupp level, maybe there's a couple games he needs to become a better representation of who he is. This receiving corps is going to be elite. And that receiving corps will be Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Tutu Atwell. And I don't know where Van Jefferson's going to be. And I don't think you need to be Nostradamus to figure that one out. And you might want to be thinking Demarcus Robinson ahead of Van Jefferson. Number 8, full credit to Raheem Morris. Me as the co-founder of hashtag Fire Raheem. I'm the first one to say it. We didn't want to see a repeat of last year's soft, non-competing defense. And yesterday there were some growing pains, but you gotta love Darian Kendrick. That guy competes. These Ram defenders, they compete. They may not grade well, but this defense is full of energy and they compete. When they could have surrendered touchdowns and folded, they forced either the 3 and outs or field goals. And you force a guy to have to kick a 57-yard field goal, your defense has pretty much done its job. And this gives us cause. What we've been talking about, we talked about it during the summer, is that by the time the Rams hit the back half of this schedule following the bye, they will have matured. This will be, if there's no injuries, right? It's always the big if. This will be a better defense after the bye. And again, this Ram team will be more competitive. Number 9, Byron Young. He might be a steal of the draft. For a 3rd rounder, he's starting to show out. 3 pressures, a hurry, a hit, and a sack. So we're seeing a little consistency there with him. And again, learning how to hold the edge. Michael Hoyt, not great, but slowly getting better. We're still probably a mature, seasoned edge rusher away. But I don't know if it's necessary right now. Maybe if this Ram team competes and comes out of the first half of the season with a 5-4 record, or, who knows how bad the Steelers are playing right now. Well, we'll see. We'll see tonight. Could the Rams be 6-3 going if they can win next week, if they can win against Pittsburgh? I'll tell you, if that Philly team that played Minnesota shows up at SoFi, that game's going to be competitive. And I've been putting that game fully in the Eagles column. We'll see, because the Eagles have not looked good the first 2 weeks of the season. Great scores, grades came in for Kobe Turner, Bobby Brown, and Jonah Williams. I don't think it was spectacular. They competed and they had their moments. Christian Roseboom was noticeably better, and all of it speaks as a young defense starting to improve. Number 10, and this is the one that is the big one here, Dwayne Barker. It was a bit of a reality for the Rams. A bit of reality for the Rams. I'm not crazy about reality, but it's still the only place to get a decent meal. Okay, that's funny, Mr. Barker. That's funny. Okay, number 10. Are the Rams done with Cam Akers? Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, right? I think the team is done, and that's all that matters. But as fans, I think he has the stink of bad mojo around him. I don't know whatever it is, but if you can't be happy paying for the Rams, a pretty top-notch organization that's going to compete every year, a team that wanted to put the ball in your hands this year, and you can't instill in McVay and everyone else the confidence to say you're the guy, then go, right? Then go or play out the string. The problem is, will anybody take him? He wanted to be traded last year, and we know this. This is old hat. Nobody wanted him, right? You look around the league, the Ravens seem to lose somebody every week to an injury, right? We know that, right? Every week the Ravens lose somebody. And then another team to keep in mind for me, when I saw that David Montgomery, the running back that used to play for the Bears, that the Lions signed, he looked good against the Chiefs. He got banged up with a thigh injury, and there's expectation he'll miss a few weeks. I thought maybe Brad Holmes, former Rams scouting guru there, I'm thinking he's the GM at Detroit. Maybe he's willing to take a flyer on Cam Akers and rejuvenate his career as Jared Goff has. But also, some people are forgetting Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds is looking he's contributing steadily at receiver for the Lions, and he seems to have a good rapport with Jared Goff there. If the Rams could get a 6th rounder for Cam Akers, pop the champagne. But hey, if you get a 7th rounder, that would be great. You don't want to give away anything for free, but you don't want a dude like that taking up a rostered spot. 10A, I think the play of Kyren Williams demonstrates that NFL teams need competent quarterbacks. They don't necessarily need to pay the money for the great ones, or be very selective on who they determine is a great one. I said this before the start of the season. I think Kyren Williams could be the Rams version of Kevin Falk. Kevin Falk was the guy from LSU that played about 12 years from 99 through 2011 for the Patriots. He was in all those early Super Bowls. And he did a little bit of everything. He ran the ball. He caught the ball. He blocked. He looks like Kyren Williams, right? He was never a star, but he was just integral in the success of those Tom Brady offenses the first half of this century, played in 5 Super Bowls. Yeah, I think Kyren Williams can be that guy. Is Kyren Williams going to be the guy you put him in a single back and give him the rock 30 times a game? No, and I don't want him to be that guy. I want an offense just a little more diverse. But when we decide we're going to pound the ball through the air, we can keep Kyren Williams in the lineup because he can block in the backfield and he can catch the ball. So they don't need him, and they don't need another feature back. I don't want Jonathan Taylor. I don't want what Jonathan Taylor would cost to acquire, and I don't want what Jonathan Taylor would cost to keep. I think he throws off the train going forward, what the Rams are trying to do right now in terms of getting building players up through the system, developing talent as opposed to bringing it in. There'll be a point, maybe next year, where the Rams will be at a point where it's like, hey, you know what? Okay, let's bring in that Von Miller. Let's bring in that OBJ for the stretch run. But Jonathan Taylor, to me, is extremely unnecessary this year. Where this Rams team is key is the key thing for them, and to me, is finding out what you have in Ronnie Rivers and Zach Evans, which was interesting because he was a healthy scratch on Sunday. Royce Freeman was brought up to the roster. Kareem Hunt is still floating out there, although Kareem Hunt seems to have some attitude issues, so I don't know necessarily if he is the guy. Number 11, either the Rams are very good, and I don't think they're very good yet, or the 49ers may need to think about trading for some help along the offensive line. There's talk about them going after another edge player, Burns from Carolina. But honestly, when you look at that offensive line after Trent Williams, it's vulnerable. If Philly gets its act together, they're going to put some hurt on Purdy. And again, and Dallas, if Dallas gets their hands on Frisco again, if this offensive line doesn't raise itself to another level, Frisco's going to suffer, because I think after Trent Williams, this offensive line is pretty ordinary. It's not extraordinary. It's ordinary. Let's see where we have here. McKivic's dominated. Yeah, okay. Steeler fan Rob. Hey, Steeler fan Rob, you just better be worried about your business for the next couple hours, because I think we showed you a little more on how to compete and play with the 49ers than you showed anybody else. So worry about your own business. You take care of your animals and we'll take care of ours. By the numbers, I didn't put this at the top. I just thought it was interesting because these numbers don't amount to anything if you lose, but they're just interesting things to look at. Time of possession, the Rams led 33-26. Rams had the ball 33 minutes to the 49ers 26 minutes. Just like in Seattle last week, the Rams ran 78 offensive plays. The 49ers only ran 54 offensive plays. Rams had 28 first downs, Frisco 21. And then this was the key one, I thought. Before we go to break here. On third down, the Rams were 11-17 last week in Seattle against a superior defense. This week, they were 7 of 14 on third down. Frisco was only 2 of 9. So just some positives, some nuggets to take away from there. Again, I'm Joe Terosian. As a sports writer for 21 years. I am dealing right now with an office that had some damage done to it. Not because I was angry or because someone was angry with me. Just some things fell over and broke. So I'm looking a little different today. The microphone setup is a little bit different. And I don't have my music, my intro, my outro. There's no Stone Groove or Stay in Your Lane, Bro. So it's just me. And I was a sports writer for 21 years. Now I do RamView, thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law and Temple City Auto Repair, and of course, Granite Ridge. We'd like you to check out all those places and check out my books. I write books. They're on Amazon. You just type in my name, Joe Terosian. My high school football novel, Tangent Dreams, was my first one, received good reviews. I wrote a second football novel loosely connected to this one. It did well. And I've also got some dystopian Christian fiction on there. And that kind of reveals to you that I do RamView and I write books, because my day job is I pastor a small church in Burbank. And it's also, you could follow us here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, as well as burbankfaithvirtual.com and all places in and around thereof, social media. Okay, there's the commercial. Let's do a couple things here. Coming out of injury, if the Rams stay healthy, they will be very good. I thought they were going to win yesterday. Dino, yeah, they really were competitive. And like we said, they were just a couple of plays away, right? Kyrene Williams doesn't let that ball go through his hands. Tutu Atwell completes that route. There's just a couple of things there that could completely have turned things around. To me, again, we know we don't want to live in the world of yearbook where fighting spirit and all that kind of garbage. And you don't want to depend too much on moral victories. But the 49ers are a great team, and the Rams competed very well. College football, I'll give my top 10 on Wednesday because I'm just trying to reset the format here as I'm doing things on the fly. Hey, as far as I see, USC is still the best team I've seen. My top 10 is based on who I've seen, okay? That means there could be teams that are better, but I'm just going based on who I see. And I will say this, I did watch Colorado State on Saturday night. And I'll just tell you this is my opinion. Colorado's been real lucky these last 2 weeks. First, they had incompetence at quarterback for Nebraska, which was a gift to them in winning that game. And then Colorado State down the stretch, not counting the points that the Rams left on the field, but Colorado State got a lot out of their team, but the Rams just didn't have enough, and they made some mistakes down the stretch. And I don't know how you have them. I know Shadir Sanders looks great, and I'm not arguing that. But man, I got a team at the 2. They got to go 98 yards in those final clicks of the clock, and I'm playing a prevent defense. You know what? You got to be aggressive, right? you got to risk it for the biscuit, and Colorado State deserved to lose. But I think the Colorado's been lucky, and I find myself, I'm just like everybody else in America. I'm rooting for the Colorado Rocky Mountain Prime, right? But I am getting sick of all the riffraff glomming onto Sanders' sidelines and in his locker room and everything. These celebrities, he needs to kind of get them out of there. I think they're going to become a distraction, or the goodwill for his team is going to go away real fast. I think there's a lot of goodwill towards Deion, but The Rock and everyone else showing up, every rapper on the planet is showing up. I don't mind Michael Irvin, because there's a history there between those guys going back to their days with the Cowboys. But please, you got to clean up that sideline. You got to get those people out of your locker room, because when the grease hits, and you hit the grease and you go into a skid, those folks aren't going to be there for you. They're just not. Take it from Ram fans, right? The elite celebrities are not going to be a supportive base. They are going to vanish on you when things go bad. And I'll tell you this, the Buffs are going to have enough trouble when they go against Oregon and USC, where neither school is incompetent at quarterback, and both those schools can punch you back just as fast as you punch them. You're not going to be playing TCU with a new quarterback. You're not going to be playing Nebraska that has no quarterback. You're not going to be playing a Colorado State team that got hammered by Washington State. You're going against Bo Nix, and then you're going against Caleb Williams. So, let's see where the celebrities are when you lose a game 42-21. Just what I have to say. On this date, September 18th in 1984, the Rams traded with the Vikings for Steve Dills as a backup quarterback. I got a thing for Steve Dills, former Stanford quarterback. But more importantly, on this date in 1986, the Rams acquired Jim Everett from the Houston Oilers for Kent Hill, defensive end William Fuller, a first-round pick and a fifth-round pick in 1987, and a first-round pick in 1988. And a week later, on September 25th, Jim Everett signed with the Rams. Everett had been a first-round pick of the Oilers. He didn't sign with them, which is interesting because in 1986, that was just kind of the Warren Moon had yet to really do much. It was there was some question about whether or not he's really going to fit in. They got the right coach in there. They got the run and shoot in there, and Moon was okay. But Everett never signed with the Oilers. And then in September, on this date, 37 years ago, the Rams traded for Jim Everett. Kent Hill hurt, because you love offensive linemen, and he was great. But you know what? The thing about Kent Hill was he was great his 7-8 years with the Rams, his 7.5 years with the Rams. But he wasn't necessarily a standout for the Oilers. He was kind of just a guy. William Fuller was okay, but he wasn't special. That first-round pick in 87 was Haywood Jeffries. He was part of that run-and-shoot team. That fifth-round pick turned into Spencer Tillman, who's a pretty famous announcer now, or color commentator. In fact, I think he was a color commentator on the last USC game. And then that first-round pick in 1988 was eventually dealt to the Oakland Raiders, or the Los Angeles Raiders, number 9 overall, and that became Raider cornerback Terry McDaniel. Jim Everett, of course, there was so much excitement about him coming in. And really up to the time of the NFC Championship game of 1989, boy, we were dreaming dreams about what Jim Everett was. And then everything seemed to change. And of course, the Rams went cheap, right? You get rid of Pete Holohan, you get rid of Zampese, the Rams went cheap. We understand. Anyway, on this date, Rams acquired Jim Everett. And there we go. Looking back this last week, with still 2 games tonight, I've got a 9-5 record. Last week I was 9-7. Week 2, I'm 9-5 in my picks. I did take Philly over the Eagles. I think I said 34-17. It was 34-28. The Eagles didn't look great, and they also lost defensive back Avonte Maddox. Torn pectoral, had surgery, likely gone for the season. I did have the Falcons over the Packers. Falcons beat the Packers 25-24. But I don't understand what Atlanta's problem is in getting the ball to Aaron Jones. And before everyone keeps bagging on Jordan Love in Green Bay, remember he was playing without Christian Watson and Aaron Jones. Raiders and Bills, Buffalo bounced back 38-10. Everyone's in love with Josh Allen again. Max Crosby, 7 tackles, but no sacks, no tackles for losses. Devontae Adams seems to be okay after his concussion. Ravens, Bengals, Baltimore 27, 24. I had the Bengals winning that game. Lamar is healthy. Mark Andrews is back, so good for them. But OBJ joins the crowd of the walking wounded for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know who's going to be left on this team by the time the Rams play them after the bye. And that was the question we've come up when the Rams go to Baltimore. On paper, this should be a Baltimore blowout, but who's going to be left in the lineup for the Ravens when we get there? And now next week, a Rams loss in Cincinnati doesn't feel as so automatic as it felt over the summer. Seahawks 37-31 over the Lions. And that just makes the Rams' victory over the Seahawks last week look even more impressive. But the Lions will snap back. But I do have to say this. Geno Smith throws for 328 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and is only sacked once, playing behind 2 backup tackles for the Seahawks. That is bad defense, Dan Campbell. Lousy ball, Mr. Campbell. Maybe you need to talk to Aaron Glenn about that. Lions, David Montgomery hurt. James Houston, fractured ankle, edge rusher, gone for an extended period of time. Chargers, Titans. I took the Chargers foolishly. Tennessee wins 27-24. And I'll say this again. Why wasn't Brandon Staley Kiffin? He should have been fired on the tarmac. This team is 0-2 in a tough AFC. The best thing the Chargers have going for them is they got the Raiders and Broncos on the schedule. Yeah, this is just bad. This is just really, really, really bad. But the Chargers are so cheap, they're not going to pay to fire Staley. They're going to run another season into the ground. I don't know. Can there be a turnaround? And think what this is coming off of. This is coming off that disaster in Jacksonville. There's a disconnect here. And I think the only option they have is to put Staley in the street. But again, it's the Chargers. These are the guys that get rid of Schottenheimer and stick with Norv Turner. These are the guys that keep Mike McCoy. These are the guys that keep Anthony Lynn a season too long. So I don't care. The Chargers, you're Ishmael here in LA. You will never ever be Isaac and Jacob. So they can go back to San Diego for all I care. Bears, Bucks. I did take the Bucks. Tampa won 27-17. I saw Justin Fields, the Bears quarterback, play for Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game against Northwestern, and I saw him struggle. I never got past that. He struggled against Northwestern, right? And he seems like a good kid, but he's a lousy quarterback, and the Bears are going to be in the quarterback draft hunt this spring. Chiefs, Jaguars. I expected a little more from this game. I did pick the Jaguars. Chiefs won 17-9, but I just expected a little bit more, right? I thought that was going to be a better game. Colts, Texans. I picked the Texans. Colts won 31-20. Everyone loves Anthony Richardson, and rightly so. But have you noticed he started 2 NFL games and failed to finish both? He had a knee banged up last week. He had a concussion this week. His career could be over before he ever really learns how to play quarterback in the NFL. I think there needs to be some thought process here that he started 2 games and he's yet to finish a game, right? And he's a good player. He's exciting to watch. But I think they need to do some thinking about what they're exposing him to. Take a few L's this season to kind of like advance his growth so he can run out of necessity and not run out of design. And I think the Ravens are starting to do that with Lamar Jackson. Giants, Cards. Giants came back and won 31-28 after being down 28-7. And I just don't understand the celebration about this comeback. People are all over talking about this great Giant comeback. If I'm a Giant player, a Giant coach, a Giant executive, a Giant fan, I'm exhaling and never bringing it up again. Saquon Barkley out for 3 weeks, ankle injury. Cards, Budda Baker, hamstring injury going on the IR. Jets, Cowboys. I wanted to see what the Jets defense would do. Dallas crushes them 30-10. Not even a resurrected Tony Riff or a healthy Aaron Rodgers could have helped the Jets on Sunday, and their defense looked about as tough as Baby John. That was really disappointing what the Jets did on Sunday. Cowboys cut Ronald Jones, former USC guy, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer this weekend. Taxkins, Broncos. I had the Taxkins winning that game. Sam Howell, tail to the Taxkins. Good for them. I'm happy for them. Broncos HC, Sean Payton, is glad he's in a division with the Raiders and Brandon Staley. Taxkins did lose Logan Thomas to a concussion. We'll see how far, if he's playing next week. Dolphins, Patriots. I did take the Dolphins in this game. Miami won 24-17. And I have to admit, I found this game boring. But when I did a double take, I realized it was the Patriots who were boring. But I will say this about the Patriots. Break me off some of that Christian Gonzalez at cornerback. He looked really good. The guy out of Oregon, I think they took him 6th overall. Yeah, that's not a miss. He sure ain't no J.C. Horn. Miami also lost wide receiver Jalen Waddle. Tonight, I got the Panthers beating the Saints because I just pick against the Saints. I understand and I know that, New Orleans could use a shot in an arm so soon after Katrina, but I'm picking the Panthers. Browns, Steelers, I took Pittsburgh. Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri, will be looking for a high building if Cleveland carves them up tonight, as well as news on the Steeler front. They put wide receiver Deontay Johnson hamstring on the IR. As we wrap this thing up, Rams, Bengals next Monday night. It's time to reassess that call. What an opportunity for this young Rams team to make a statement under the bright lights, right? And if they get killed, everyone's going to say, hey, it's just a young team. But if they make that statement under the bright lights in Cincy on the road, it's going to be really interesting. My thinking is if the Rams win next week on Monday Night Football and continue to play well going forward, some of those games that were 1 o'clock starts on Sunday might be flexed into prime time. Just something to think about. Okay. Dino, thank you. I like the biblical reference. I think the Rams stand a good chance with Joe Burrow and that calf injury, but it is Monday night. Hey guys, I want to say thank you for sticking with me. This was an odd show. I'm really thrilled. This was an odd show in terms of just production and everything. It's going to be like this week until I get all my parts and things fixed back. It'll be a little delay getting stuff loaded on Spotify, but we'll get our stuff loaded onto Spotify eventually. But keep going there. Go to Spotify, sign up, register, take the clicks. We need to improve our footprint there. Check out our sponsors, Kistler Law, Temple City Auto, Granite Ridge. I just want to say thank you to everybody. And hey, we'll be back Wednesday, and we'll see if Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri, is still with us or if he's gone on to the next life. Okay, until then, go Rams. Oh, injury update. The only injury update I got right now, maybe someone else has something since broadcasting. The only injury update it's got is Joe Noteboom's shoulder, but no one knows anything else. I think if there was any other information that was truly pressing, we would already know about it, but that's good news. If there's been no significant injuries after a very physical game with your number one rival, that's good news going into Cincy next week. Okay, Dino, Tim Burns, thank you for clicking on. Dwayne Barker, all you guys, thank you so much for clicking on. God bless. We will see you on Wednesday.